Assalamualaikum and very good morning to Dr. Ayin and all my dear classmates. This is Group 4. Our topic is McKinsey 7S model. Here are our group members: LiangYu, Wang JinTao, Liu RuiQi, and Diao Lin. My name is LiangYu. My metric number is 205164. This model was created by Tom Peters and Robert Waterman, who were consultants for the company McKinsey in the early 1980s. They argue that the effectiveness of an organization is affected by various factors, and in an organization, the success of change relies on the relationship between those factors. Robert Waterman had worked as a senior director for 21 years at McKinsey Company. He is a famous scholar and author in Best Practices of Management, who is known for the co-development of McKinsey 7S model. In 1958, he gained the MBA from Stanford University and bachelor degree in geophysics from the Colorado School of Mines. After working 21 years in McKinsey Company, Robert Waterman has his own business now. Another scholar is Tom Peters, who is known as an American writer on business management practices. Tom Peters once worked as a management consultant during the period of 1974 to 1981 in McKinsey Company. Similar to Robert Waterman, after working at McKinsey Company for several years, Tom Peters also left the company and also has become an independent consultant. The McKinsey 7S model was mainly used in the field of business. It was firstly introduced as a conceptual framework for diagnosing the reasons of the malaise of an organization and for making strategies for improvement. It is applied to analyze the effectiveness of an organization in terms of the shared values, strategies, structure, systems, style, staffs, and skills. For example, Tracy and Blood conducted a case study research to analyze the organizational structure of the Isaka Beer Company in 2012. And they found that the 7S model can provide an excellent starting point when examining the conditions necessary for a company to succeed and grow. Meanwhile, Zensier and Chalk operated a research in 2017 to interpret how an organization would change internally and externally when they approach the edge of a new era. By rethinking 7S model, this research demonstrated the significance of the 7S model in the business domain. That's all for me. I will pass to the next person.
Hello everyone, my name is Wang JinTao. My metric number is 20906. I will talk about the context, reasons, and the components of the McKinsey 7 model. The model was developed in the 1980s, and since its introduction, the model has been widely used by academics, and it is still one of the most popular strategic planning tools. It attempts to emphasize human resources rather than traditional mass production of tangible capital, infrastructure, and equipment. The reason why proposing the model is that the McKinsey 7 model depicts how change leaders can effectively manage organizational change and help people analyze their company for performance gaps. And people can map up what they need to do to achieve business strategy. The model also can better organize the actions for a company. And next I will introduce the model components. There are 7 elements in the model. Structure, strategy, and the system are hard elements, and however, soft elements are shared values, skill, style, and staff. And some details about these 7 elements I will introduce. First one is strategy. Strategy is a plan made by a company to maintain its competitive advantage in the market, and it includes a set of design-making and action steps that need to be taken to respond to changes in the company's environment. And the second one is structure. Structure refers to a clear chain of command to avoid chaos and confusion. It represents how the different divisions of the company are organized. And the third one is system. It refers to the business processes and operational procedures used to complete the routine activities of the enterprise. It includes core processes such as product development and support activities such as human resource and accounting. And the first one is shared values. Shared values are the core elements of the model. It is the core of organizational culture and represents the collective value system of the company's standards and norms, attitude, and beliefs. And the last one is scale. Scale are the ability of employees to complete tasks, and the employees' core skills are invisible, but they play an important role in obtaining sustainable competitive advantage. And the last one is style. The component refers to the common managed style in the company, which determine the level of employee productivity. And the last one is staff. The most valuable strategy asset of an organization is its staff and the human resource. These elements focus on the number of employee, staff development, and their initiatives. And so that's all for my part. And that's where we Liu RuiQi to present. Thank you.
So, I'm going to continue with how the model works. The operation of this model is based on how change leader can effectively manage organizational change by strategizing around the interactions of 7 key elements. So how to apply this kind of model? So the first step is to identify the gaps and unaligned processes. These are the unaligned areas in your organization's current business process. Any gaps and inconsistencies, and what needs to change to achieve a more effective balance. And the second step is to determine the ideal organizational design. Finding the sweet spot where management's vision of an ideal organizational design coincides nicely with the opinion of the remaining team members needs change leaders to conduct extensive research for this step. And the third step is to create an effective action plan. Change agent needs to develop a thorough implementation strategy after identifying the outliers. The organizational hierarchy, communication channel, the reporter connections must all be changed in order to the cooperation to achieve the desired organizational design according to the action plan. And the fourth step is to implement the change. The most crucial phase of any change attempt is the change implementation stage. Only successfully executed change will overcome resistance to change and avert overall change failures. To implement your changes, you should choose internal change agent or employee change consultant. And the last step is to maintain the momentum with continuous review processes. These 7 components are extremely dynamic and always changing. So to keep the momentum of change going, practitioner must monitor this factor and their interactions. So where do we apply this kind of model? So this model is often applied when a company is experiencing some kind of change. And that's all for me. I'm gonna pass the presentation to the next presenter.
So, in speaking of the advantages and strengths of this model, first, it increases the organizational effectiveness, which means that when the elements in the model are consistent with the final goal of the organization, the planned goal will be easier to achieve. And second, by applying this model, it controls the operation of the organization deeply and comprehensively. And third, this model aims to provide good coordination between various organizational departments. And fourth, this model has strong strategic enforceability, which means that the model makes it convenient and transparent to formulate and implement strategies through close coordination of all parts. And fifth, by using this model, the organization can gain a clearer understanding of the impact of the changes that they want to make. And lastly, it links the academic research with the management practice. This means that this model has not only been developed and being successful in theory, but also has been largely tested in practice and applied to the management of business organization. And then, in speaking of the disadvantages of the model, firstly, it has a relatively higher cost. And second, it has certain practical complexity. And third, patience is required for the diagnosis of the effect. And fourth, in some extent, this model ignored the influence of the external factors. So lastly, how do we improve this model? There are 3 steps. First is to carry out information collection and design the corresponding questionnaire, analyze the questionnaire results, and sort out and refine the key problem findings. And step 2, after the diagnosis of the key findings, it is necessary to reach consensus with the business department in a timely manner. And last step, the final discussion results need to produce core issues around the 7 elements, as well as preliminary optimization plans in order to make the 7 elements reach perfect harmony. And that's all from our group. Thank you.